So if you have not done lab yet, you should not be working on this. The reason is that you have to set up your account in a very specific way, and I want you to do that in lab. You can always watch this ahead, but this is really meant as a review for lab, just in case you didn't have, just in case you missed one of the steps. So you can see that I am on the Fresno State Qualtrics. I'm on the OIE page for Office of Institutional Effectiveness, and I'm going to log into my Qualtrics. So I am going to follow the steps that you did in lab, which is where you're creating your shell. So it's really important that you log in through Qualtrics and you would create a new project. So when you create a new project, it gives you some different options. We're just going to say from scratch. So that means you're going to make your own. I'm going to click here. And then I'm just going to click this Get Started. And I want to give it a name, and I want you guys not to pick a name that gives away your hypothesis or really your research question. I want you to pick just something that you're okay with your participants seeing, but that doesn't, again, it's not like Psych 144 project or we think that this is going to happen. Just give it some kind of name. So you could even use like your group name. If you have a funny group name, then that could be it. So like mine, I'm going to say Team Turtle Survey. Terrible example, but you get the point. Pick something. And so I want to create a blank survey. I'm going to say create project. You can always go in and change your name later too. So here you can see that there's different types of questions that you can click into. You have the different, there's different menu layout options. So you have the survey, you have workflows, distributions, data analysis, results, and reports. We're going to use those other ones later. We're going to stay with survey for now. You can see here that there's a survey flow button. There's a look and feel button. There's survey options, and then you also have translations. Again, we're going to stay in this builder right here. So I'm in this top left builder. And what you're going to do is you're going to create your blocks. So this is the main purpose of the lab is to get you to create the correct blocks. So you have this that you used in lab to decide what blocks to set up. So you all need an informed consent, for example. So then I just click on this default question block and I say informed consent. And then we're going to create another block. So again, I would look here and say, okay, we all need demographics. So let's make block 2 demographics. And then I'm going to add another block. And again, I go here and I say, okay, additional questions. So there's a separate video that goes into this in a little bit more detail, but I'm going to say I don't have any additional questions. And then this measure pretest. The only reason I would do a measure pretest block is if I'm doing a pretest post-test. So you just go through and complete all of the blocks here. So you would just, again, set these up and you would say, I'm going to add this block and this block and this block, etc. So then I also, if you had time in lab, you might have also created some demographic questions. And so, for example, you could do a multiple choice question and say, I'm going to rename this from Q2. You could leave it as Q2 if you want to. I'm going to call this gender. And I'm going to write the question, with which gender do you most identify? And then, because I've already chosen multiple choice as my question type, I could always click here and I could look at some different information. I could add, I could preview the question. I can add a note for myself. I could click here and actually change the question type, but we're going to leave it at this multiple choice. And look, it gave me male, female, non-binary, third gender, prefer not to say. So it actually anticipated what I was looking for, right? So I'm going to leave it like this, but actually I'm going to change it. But for gender, it's typically a man and woman. Male and female refers to biological sex. So I'm going to leave that one the way it is. So I'll leave a prefer not to say option. And then I might add another question here. And I'm going to make this multiple choice as well. And we will call this race, ethnicity. And I would just enter in my options here as well. Oops, and that page break was unintentional. So I'm going to delete that. Page break just means that they'll see a break in the survey. So they would like answer this question and then they would say next and answer the next question. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. This is again what I wanted you to do during lab. So this is just a quick review. So then now that you are done with this section, you're going to go through and I want you to use all of the short videos that follow to answer these questions or to fill in these different blocks. So that way, when you go into lab next week, you will have it set up. You might need some help refining, some help with moving some things around or changing a couple things, but I want you to come to lab with this completed. And then again, we can work on it in lab. So in the meantime, this will be available for you. And then there are some other resources that I will have available as well. So I'm going to stop this here and there will be another video shortly.